Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel. I'm Shiv and I hope you're all keeping well and the boredom has not got the better of you staying at home. So today's topic is going to be something that would not be applicable to everybody, but at least would be applicable to those who used to shoot film, who have lots of slides at home, and this is a good time to cull through those and find out which ones are really good, and then take them and digitize them. So we're going to talk about a little setup over here that you can use to digitize your slides and convert them into an electronic slideshow if you so want, or anything else, or just to preserve them, because over time what's going to happen is you're not going to be able to really show those slides. Projectors are becoming scarce, the bulbs will blow and who knows what. So it's best to get your good slides digitized, and what better time to do it in when you're locked down and at home. So let's look at what the products are that we can use. Okay, what we have is a kit that you can get. It's basically 2 goosenecks with a Platypod Max, and you get 2 Lytra torches. So this would be a kit that you can buy, and I will put a link down in the show notes so you can use that link to go procure these products. I mean, they come as a kit, or you can buy them individually. If you need additional goosenecks, they're available. If you need additional Lytra torch 2s, those are available. But we're going to use this, and then we're going to take any ball head that we have and mount the ball head onto the Platypod. The next thing we're going to do is to get what's known as a slide duplicator. Now, what the slide duplicator is, and let me just move this away so you get a better view of it. It's nothing more than basically a plastic tube. Now, Nikon used to make these. They are occasionally available, but if you look on B&H and if you look on Adorama or even Amazon, they're not really available. And if they are, they're pretty expensive. There are some other ones made by Novaflex, and again, you're talking about a pretty hefty price for a project that you might do once or twice. So I did get this one on Amazon, but again, they don't have any more available. The best place that I found is on eBay, and they're fairly cheap. They range from $50 down to $29, because these are not really metal tubes. It's some sort of a plastic composite material. There is a lens on one side, and on the other side is a diffuser, and you have a little slot in which you can put your slides. Now, in order to mount this to your camera, the first thing you really need to understand is what is the length from the slide to the back of the unit. And you don't have to use a macro lens. So don't worry about expensive macro lenses. If you have a lens that has a reasonably close focusing distance, it'll do pretty well. But just to make sure that you're getting the right product and the right lens, look at the lens that you are going to use. And for that purpose, what I've got over here is an old 14 to 140 millimeter zoom lens. It's a Lumix lens. It's not even a Lumix Leica lens, and this has a minimum focusing distance of about 12 inches. Now, 12 inches is pretty good, because if I mount this to the front of the lens, and I'll show you how to mount it in a moment, then the distance from the sensor to the front is more than 12 inches. So this lens is going to work just fine for me to duplicate these slides. Now, in order to mount this particular unit has a 52 millimeter male, and my lens is a 58mm filter thread. So I need to use some sort of coupling to get this attached to the lens. And for that, what I've got is actually 3 pieces, or no, in fact 4 pieces here. One is a 58mm to 67. That's a step up ring. And then I've got 3 step down rings going from 67 to 62, and then 62 to 55, and 55 to 52. So with the 52mm male to a 52mm female, I'll just screw on the step down rings, and then once they're all tight, I can now screw this on to my 58mm lens on the camera. All right. Now, once the camera and the lens are hooked together, the front element of this can be rotated, so you can position it to be perfect. Now, what I do next is to mount this to my Platypod using a ball head. So lock that in place. And it doesn't have to be perfectly level. It can be reasonably level because you are going to adjust the slide mount to position it correctly. Now, the next thing we need is to add some light to the front element so that we'll be able to duplicate the slides with proper light. In order to do that, you've really got 2 options. You can take one of the goosenecks and put it and screw it onto the Platypod Max. Now, in this particular case, I know that I'm going to be too close and not be able to position the light appropriately. So the best way to do it is to take 2 of these goosenecks and attach them back to back. And now I can basically put it to the back and position it this way, or position it such that it is mounted to the front. So let me just show you the Platypod Max and its mounts. So the Max has 2 holes here, 2 more holes here, and it has 1, 2, 3, 4 quarter 20s and a 5th quarter 20 in front. Now, there's no point mounting this to this quarter 20 because it's going to be obstructing the lens. There's a 6th quarter 20 that is in front of the 5/8, and which is also in front, directly in front of where you mount the ball head. So the best way to get this is to position this into one of the quarter 20s in front. Once I have that mounted, I can reattach my camera. Lock the camera down in position, and now bend the gooseneck to the position that you want it. Okay, so now that I have the gooseneck positioned kind of, it's not perfectly positioned, you will notice that a single lighter torch is not going to be sufficient because it is not as wide as the slide, so the amount of light that it's going to shed on the slide, or actually the diffusion panel, is going to make one of the areas a little darker than the other. So what I like to do is to actually take the second lighter torch and put an elastic band to hold the 2 together, one on each side. That way it remains well positioned. And these little slots in here are perfect to hold the 2 lights together. Now I can turn the lights on and get them nicely positioned. Okay, now that we have the light positioned correctly, the two torches attached to each other. It's now time to set focus and make sure that we have the slide registration correct, as well as make sure that the exposure is correct. So first and foremost, let's make sure that we can see what the camera is seeing, and I will switch to that view. All right, what you have now is you can see that the slide is pretty small in the frame, and I'm just going to zoom in and structure it such that the slide is pretty much to the edges. Now what I'm using is a Micro Four Thirds camera, and the slides are from a full frame camera, so you may have to compensate a little bit by shooting with a little area that otherwise you will have to crop out. The next thing I want to do is to make sure that the slide is in fact straight, and once it is straight, make sure that the exposure before that, sorry, let me get the focus right, and I have good focus. Now let me make sure that we have proper exposure, and I'm just going to check that, and that is about correct. Now what you may have to do is to adjust the exposure for each subsequent slide, but you shouldn't have to reframe it, and you shouldn't have to refocus it, even though there is a slight amount of movement because the slides are not gripped, and these are paper slides in cardboard Geppy mounts vis-a-vis the slides that are mounted in the heavier glass mounts. So, you know, I just grab an image and then pull the slide out. Let's put another one in. As you can see, this one, the slide is not the best. I mean, the original highlights and shadows were never appropriately adjusted. So, but anyway, we'll grab this image, take this one out, and just for fun, do one more. And in this one, the exposure is definitely on the higher side, so I'm going to increase my shutter speed and bring it down to where it needs to be. So you can adjust this, get these exposures corrected in camera here, but if you want, bring it back into Photoshop and do it there. So that's basically it. And let me switch to this view. So what we have is a very simple setup, and something that you can really spend as much time as you want. You can leave this unit established in this way, get your slides duplicated. It's easy to uncouple the slide duplicator and use your camera and then just recouple it again each time you need it. The idea of using two torches, or two Lightroom Torch 2s as they're called, is really to evenly distribute the light across the slide. With a single light, you don't get the light intensity appropriately distributed across the slide. So if you want to, there is another product that Lightroom makes, and that's the Lightroom Torch. Sorry, it's not the Lightroom Torch, it's the Lightroom Pro. And the Lightroom Pro is a larger unit. Let me just grab one and show that to you. So this is the Lightroom Pro, and as you can see, the LEDs are pretty widely sort of arrayed. And the fact is that when, let me just switch to the top view to show this, that when you use one of these lights, it'll fill the entire slide frame. But this does not come as part of the macro kit. You'd have to buy this independently. But I mean, if you've got a lot of slides that you want to do and you're not comfortable with using two torches, then the Pro is the way to go. So I'm going to leave that here. In fact, I'll put a link to the Pro in addition to the torches, so that if you want to get one of those, you're most welcome to do so. So I hope you've enjoyed that session, and you'll get to do some slide conversion and get your old slides back into circulation. At least now they'll be digital, and you can always go back and edit them, make them better, take care of any of the original problems you may have had, and it's a good way to spend some time when you've got little else to do, and to hopefully take some of the boredom away. So with that, thank you very much. If you've enjoyed what you've seen, please give me a thumbs up. Please also subscribe if you haven't already done so. And once you subscribe, you'll see that little notification icon pop up. Do click on that, and you will be notified of all future episodes. So with that, be safe, be well, and we'll see you the next time.